Okay, so today we are going to discuss the philosophy behind good music and what actually makes music good. Here at Unsung Talent, we like to find the best in every scenario, not necessarily every album. Some albums don't have anything that's really worth salvaging in them. I am not one who believes that every single piece of music is good, or even that there is good in every type of music. Some music is just flat out bad or just really talentless, or the ideas put into it are just beyond bad. And at Unsung Talent, I am trying to make sure that is seen, and that the good music shines out, that the bad music doesn't get into the channel. Now, good music comes in many forms, but Unsung Talent doesn't so much deal with the popular music as they do with the lesser-known tracks, such as soundtracks or music made for YouTube channels, or music made by lesser-known artists who don't really have an actual outlet. There are plenty of them. You can see them everywhere, but many of them, there's a reason why they never made it that big. And it's kind of sad to hear, but that is the way it is. Some people, they're just going after what they think will make their music a big thing, and unfortunately, when that's all you're after, it's going to be pretty hard to actually get anything going. Now, at Unsung Talent, we're attempting to get the best of the lesser-known tracks. So, if the channel gets big enough where I can start getting requests from people, let it be known now that the channel does not accept music that it considers too little class. It is called Unsung Talent. Unsung, yes, but talent, yes, as well. Just because the good musicians and artists aren't known doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad, but it could mean that they're bad, and if they are, or even if just certain tracks of theirs are bad, they won't get on. For instance, the Halo 4 soundtrack is probably the biggest outlet for Unsung Talent. A lot from the Halo 4 soundtrack has been posted and will be posted. And the Halo 4 soundtrack was not necessarily all good. Neil Davidge and Kazuma Jinauchi, who were the two main composers, made a lot of good music. I would say it's the best Halo soundtrack, if not one of the best soundtracks out there. I would say it would have to be in the top 5 of any soundtracks list, and that includes movies too. Most movie soundtracks aren't that good, at least not to listen to on a CD. Sometimes they're really good in the movie, but they're not necessarily so good in the CD. But Unsung Talent tries to deal more with the good ones on each album. Unsung Talent tries to deal with, for instance, on Neil Davidge's Halo 4 soundtrack Volume 2, we see a lot of lesser tracks that just weren't deemed to be that spectacular. They didn't make the Halo Best 100 list. They wouldn't have even made that 150 had I put that together. That is an example of what we do at Unsung Talent. If you're a little-known artist and you have, say, 15 tracks on your debut album, Unsung Talent would listen to them and listen to them again, and we would make sure that there are good tracks on there, or at least that there's the potential of good tracks and that there's a certain melody to them. Don't forget, everyone's musical taste is different. Some people would actually believe these are fairly good tracks. That being said, at Unsung Talent, we try to have like a general definition. We try to get opinions, and we try to make sure that every possibility is heard. But at that being said, we do believe that not every track is a good track. As a matter of fact, Unsung Talent only features about probably a fifth of what we hear. Little more than that. Simply because a lot of it is just considered substandard stuff. Now, we are going to feature a lot of things, and we have featured a lot of things, but that would be the overall status quo for Unsung Talent. We don't feature everything, but we do try to feature as much as possible, but as much good stuff as possible. Now, concerning cliches, I would also like to add that there are a lot of them out there. Like the singing cliche would be a big one. You see a lot of these, just the choral singing, the big choir trying to sing the really dramatic piece that everyone's supposed to be so, whoa about. And instead what we're seeing is just that it's kind of, it's so cliched that it's not even that good anymore. And even if it wasn't so cliched, most of the stuff isn't even really that good. I mean, I was listening to something from an unnamed YouTube channel. I won't name what it was. It was like a best dynamic music, like best choral voices, and with the big melody and the big thrash, that everyone gets a big kick out of. And it was just bad. It was real bad. It's like, whoa, everyone here is singing the exact same song. There were like 30 different pieces, all the same. I didn't find a single one that I'd be willing to feature on Unsung Talent. That's how bad it was. And you say, oh, well, 30. I mean, there must have been one in there that was slightly unique, or even just the best of that genre. Like, there should have been something that was worth featuring. There wasn't. There was not. It was very bad. And this is just one example of how you can fit into a cliche. A lot of people also just like to play an instrument or two, and like the piano or the violin, and just not really do anything with it. They never really go anywhere. There's no punchline, there's no build up, there's no gimmick behind the music, nothing that makes that particular piece unique or special or just very standalone. I like violins and pianos just as much as the next person. And here at Unsung Talent, we love it, that type of thing. There's going to be, we're going to do videos on that. We're going to, that in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. If you have a good piece played with only the violin, or played with only the piano, or played with a union of the two, or played with, like a light drum beat in the back, and it sounds really good, that piece will get featured on Unsung Talent, provided we see it. But in the meantime, if you're just trying to, get a gimmick going, like a lot of people like this background music, and some of it's all right, where just like, say, one piano is playing these very slow keys, and this can just kind of be annoying to me. Like, when I listen to a piece, I do enjoy background music, but when I listen to a piece, I do want to get a little something out of it. I want even my background music to have a certain feel to it, a certain pizzazz, or if not a pizzazz, a certain atmosphere. And an atmosphere is often, and most often, achieved through a good tune, or through very well played instrumentation, or through anything of that sort. But to just think that you can get away with playing just a piano, a basic piano, and that's somehow going to get you into the atmospheric background sounds category, I'm afraid that it just doesn't work like that. At least not in my books. Here at Unsung Talent, we only feature talent which we believe is actually talent. Just anyone can play a piano in the background and try to create an atmosphere. We try to feature the guys who have studied and who have tried to learn how to create an atmosphere and who have actual talent. Not everyone has talent. This also must be known. And there are also levels of talent. This must also be known. For instance, here at Unsung Talent, in my personal opinion, and you could consider me wrong, of the Halo composers, I do believe that Neil Davidge has the most dynamic, diversified music of any of the composers. Martin O'Donnell is very good, but he prefers a classical feel, and he is not quite as inventive. Tom Salta is also very good, but Tom Salta, who I call sharpshooting Salta, he kind of just picks out what he knows what sounds good and he knows how to play it, but he's not the most innovative guy. Well, with Gordy Hab for Halo Wars 2, Gordy Hab he's as inventive as Neil Davidge, if not more. He's very innovative, but I find he struggles slightly with sticking to a certain atmosphere. Even when you're very innovative, you still have to write something that's very good and that really flows. Being innovative, of course, is good, and we all like innovation, especially when it's something that has a real flavor to it, a real uniqueness. But when you are trying to deliver just unique sound, that's obviously not going to work. Gordy Hab did deliver some good stuff, though, some really good stuff. I thought Strategic Feint from Disc 2 of the Halo Wars soundtrack was good. I thought Fever Dread from the Awakening, the Nightmares soundtrack, was nothing short of revolutionary. I think any future Flood game mode, Flood or Parasitic Force in the Halo series, any Flood atmosphere, like a very zombie-like Borg from Star Trek almost feel, the Fever Dread track and Strategic Feint work incredibly well for that. They're very, very inventive, and that is something you see very rarely. Even great composers have a very hard time inventing that kind of that horror feel. Most of them just try the big, done sound, or the big, the really creepy, kind of crawly sound. But we hear that so much that it gets very boring. But when you can actually revolutionize a scary feel, or even just like a disturbed feel, or like a forlorn feel, that is incredible. And I thought Neil Davidge and Gordy Hab were really hitting the marks when it came to feels like that. All right, so one other point I would like to touch on before the end of the video is how I believe a lot of music stations are kind of underselling themselves online and just in general. For instance, you see so many people playing something just because they were requested to, or it's popular right now, or they think that this will really get them the views or whatever. Like they think, well, if I make let's just take, for example, a Metallic soundtrack, like a big Metallic soundtrack. They think, well, everyone's looking for a big Metallic soundtrack right now, so they just take all their features, which are, say, just very lackluster music, and what they'll do is they'll put this into a featured album and try to, make it a big one. But at Unsung Talent, what we're trying to do is create a station that does not cater to whatever could work, but is not necessarily good music. So, for instance, we're not necessarily catering to a gimmick. We're catering to what we think is actually good music. For instance, when we put a soundtrack out there, we don't necessarily take the tracks from the album which had one good part in a 5-minute track, and then everyone likes that part, and we throw that one in there. No, and what we do is we'll cut out all the jargon and put that in, or if it's too short, or if it's considered not as good as some of the other tracks on the album, what we might do is that might not even get featured. At Unsung Talent, we try to take the best from everything. For instance, we just did a Avatar, the best sounds from Avatar soundtrack the other day, and that album, Avatar soundtrack is very good, very, very atmospheric, but a lot of it is very slow moving, and as you see in all movies, there is just a certain amount of what I like to call jargon in it. And when I say jargon, I mean just sounds that they had to play in the movie, but were not necessarily that good sounds. They worked very well for the part, but they didn't necessarily work so well for the movie. So those sounds, for example, if they were in the tracks that we selected to be in the elite group, those sounds would be filtered out. Because they're considered B class. They're considered not good enough to make the cut, and they're considered worse even than that. What they're really considered is just sounds. Anyone can bang a tennis racket against a wooden beam and make sounds with that, and if that's what suits the part, that's very good. But we are trying to create actual albums that sound good. So, for instance, when we release the Best of Avatar soundtrack, we're trying to take, say, like the 4 or 5 best tunes that actually were very musically melodious and all that. And honestly, we found them. You know, Avatar has a very good soundtrack. James Horner is a very good composer. But you know, very, very musical and melodious. I myself prefer the quieter parts of the album, like the jingles and stuff like that. I think that they're actually better than the heavy choirs and the general drum beats and stuff. I don't think that stuff is very it could just be me, but in my opinion, I actually prefer the jingles and stuff like that. But that would be one example. That Avatar soundtrack would be one example. We tried to take the best from stuff. We did a Kingsglaive album not so long back. Kingsglaive is a Final Fantasy 15 movie, a movie that takes place in the same storyline. It's actually very good. I highly encourage you to watch it. But during this soundtrack, which was written by John Graham, John Graham created some very interesting sounds, but we try to take the best of them. So for instance, it was I think we did a 4-piece shoot. It was only 15 minutes, something like that. And we took the 4 best tracks. Now that doesn't mean that there were only 4 good tracks, but we took the 4 best ones. We tried to be very selective with what we took. And that's what I'm saying. I believe that that's what a lot of these radio stations would be better served doing. Instead of making a dime a dozen albums, even if you just need to keep your YouTube following around, what you could do, if you're a YouTube channel, that is, if you're just looking to keep your followers around and giving them something new, even when you don't necessarily have anything good, what you could do is just make like, you could remix some of your old takes, or what you could also do is just release B-class albums and tell everybody that this is just, this is like cool drum beats we thought were out there, like 1 hour of epic drum beats or whatever. And then when you've got enough material put together for like a 16, 17 track album, or like a 1 hour of epic voices album or something to that effect, that's when you release it and say, like, this is the big one, you know, this is the one that's you're really going to want to hear. This is our best one. Every single track on it sounds very good or very atmospheric or very epic or whatever, but this is our big one. And I believe that a lot of these stations and a lot of these people would be better served doing that. Instead of just trying to make a whole bunch of jargon mixed in with a couple good tracks, I believe they'd be better off trying to make good albums. And then any jargon you want to feature, try to make sure that it's mixed with other jargon, or at least put at the end of the album, you know, where it's not really going to bug the listener and he's not going to say, wow, this music channel sucks. You know, you don't want that, folks. All right, so anyway, that should be the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And, you know, subscribe to Unsung Talent. More is on the way. And keep the comments coming. Keep the likes coming. We need them all to keep going. You have yourself a good day. So long.